Welcome to Potentials. This is Lígia and Ed Kabursky. We are going to be talking about We, the Arcturians today, which happens to be, happens to be one of our favorite books. I disappeared.
You just did. You're magic.
And then I came right back. Woo! Anyway, here I am. So We, the Arcturians, A True Experience by Dr. Norma Milanovich. She is amazing, and it's an amazing book about a true experience that she had with the Arcturians, which are a race from well, I guess I'll let Ed take it from here, because we're both going to be talking about our favorite passages from the book. I have 11, he has 22, and altogether that makes 33, the magic number. So
Absolutely, yeah. And thank you for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
My pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, we're going to go through the book. The one thing that people should know is I actually know Dr. Norma Milanovich because she did a Akashic reading for me. It was earlier this year sometime. So she's pretty cool. She did probably about 6 hours of an investigation on me before she actually did the reading, which is really interesting. She came back to me and said that not too many times in the last bunch of years have people asked for a reading from Arcturus. And after she did her due diligence, she came back and said, yes, this is your home, and we've got some really neat things to talk about. So yeah, in 1987, her computer basically started typing out this information. Now, Lígia, you can imagine, I actually shut my computer off all the time, and I was wondering if the information would still come through if the computer was shut off, or she had to leave it on the whole time, kind of, for it to come through. And I don't know the answer to that, but it started in 1987, and she wrote the book in 1990, I believe, is when she did it. So she has been doing readings, Akashic readings, and that type of thing for 33 years. So right. Wow, was right. So yeah, so it was really interesting.
She's like a trailblazer, like a pioneer. Yeah, she's cutting edge, really, because like nobody was talking about this stuff. I can assume back then. I don't know, but I'm guessing that it wasn't really something that is as common as it is now. For even though it's still kind of fringe and people think you're woo-woo if you talk about it. Whatever. Sorry, not sorry. But like, it's still like a little bit more talked about, but who talked about it back then? So that must have been really, for her, it must have been a shocking, stunning experience for her to have.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, just to have your computer just start typing these things. So the words that we're going to say, the ones that I've chosen are all from the Arcturians. In the book, there are quotes from the Arcturians, and then there's stuff that they've written, like Dr. Norma has written after that. But everything that I'm going to talk about is actually quotes, and I think it's probably the same thing for you as well.
Yeah, well, there's all different things I found in here. I just love this book. I don't know. It's so weird that we both knew what this, because it's not a very common book. It's not something people have in their library usually. I mean,
exactly.
I found it on Amazon, and I think I found it 3 years ago, 2020,
Okay.
and I was just looking through stuff, and I think I was curious about the Arcturians because really it was Stephen Greer, and it was somebody who does the CE5s in, I don't know if he works with Stephen Greer, but he does, and I can't think of his name right now. It's horrible. But anyway, he did these videos, and he was such a nice person. And he and his wife both talked about their experiences with meeting an Arcturians. They appeared at their. He went to and now I'm really feeling bad. I don't remember his name, but he went to a conference and he met some people who were talking about the Arcturians. And while that was happening, his wife didn't go with him. the Arcturians appeared at her bed, at the foot of her bed.
Wow,
And
that's amazing.
she said she felt so much love from them that it didn't scare her. She just felt love. And that they were just kind of looking at her curiously, and she was like, "Who are you?" And they were like, where are you from, or who are you? And they said, "We're from Arcturus." And they said it just like that, very childlike almost.
Yeah,
And she was so, oh, they're so sweet, because just their whole demeanor and the way they pronounced the way they talked. So anyway, she just fell in love with them. And then he came back from the conference and told her about his experience, and they were like, "Whoa, that's so weird." So
yeah,
they ended up doing this, and that's how I found out about who the Arcturians were, was from their
okay,
videos. And so then I was like looking for books about them on Amazon, and then I found this book, and I
great.
was like, wow, this is really cool. I'm going to order this. And I read it, and it was the most beautiful book I've ever read. Like, it
I'd have to
just,
agree. Yeah,
stuff that they say is so cool. It's similar to the Law of One, kind of, but
kind of.
only
Yeah,
a little bit more personal.
yeah,
Like, just not so, I don't want to diss the Law of One, but just not so, almost like a computer is talking to you, kind of.
right, right.
It's more like
Um,
personal feeling. I don't know.
One thing I know about the Arcturians is like Earth is headed into a fifth density. That's where we're going to end up. And the model for Earth is actually Arcturus.
Mm.
So the model for how we get into 5D is essentially we're following their model. Plus the whole society part of Arcturus is quite a bit different, I think, than most cultures out there. Um, Arcturus first came on my radar back in 1987 or thereabouts when I was reading Edgar Casey, and he talked about Arcturus. But honestly, back then, I would have never thought in a million years that I would be talking about Arcturus. And in fact, this is actually my home. So, and how we know, and how I got to Dr. Norma was I had some readings done by Rebecca Rose, who you know,
Yeah.
and she talked about where I came from. And after that, I actually sort of like you, I found the book and I read it, and I was absolutely amazed. And then I contacted Dr. Norma because I thought to myself, I should try and contact this lady. I knew the book was written in 1990, so it was a long time ago, but I wasn't sure. And then I found out that she did readings, so I actually had a reading done by her. And on one of your podcasts with Frank Chili, Andrea, and yourself and me, we actually talked about a little bit about that reading and how Soltec had came and it was Soltec, and he came and put me on a rose quartz healing bed. So it was very interesting. Just last night, I watched the one with Andrea and you actually had a rose quartz piece of crystal that you were talking about.
Yes.
So, and it's got to do with the heart healing.
It's the heart chakra. Yes. It's related to the
Yeah.
heart. Yeah.
So that was really awesome. And thank you for the energy from that. That was so awesome actually at the beginning of that.
Thank you.
Truly
Yes.
amazing.
My
So I guess we
pleasure.
should probably get into doing some reading here, right?
Yes. Yes. This is beautiful stuff. And like I say, they're very full of love. And as you said, they're the model. So part of
Yeah.
what I wanted, well, what I'll talk about eventually, because I will get into it now, but eventually liquid light is where I came, what resonated with me
Yeah.
in this book was liquid light, because I had studied Tai Chi, Wushu, Qigong, yoga, and of course that's all prana and chi, and that's what liquid light basically is.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you could explain it a little bit better for the audience, not too, right? Because yeah, so that's
Because that's
truly
what
what it is.
yes, and that's the source of where that all comes from is the same. So that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it goes into a little bit more detail in the book. And so 3 years ago, I tried to, well, I didn't, it was more 2 years ago, but I'd heard about liquid light. And then I felt like that's what I was channeling, what was coming through me. I was
Yep.
being used as a conduit, and it was coming through me, and that's what I was giving other people when I was giving them energy. So I wanted them to become more familiar with the source of what it is, so they're not afraid of it, and they
Yep.
don't think it's just some weird thing that, and also it's really not any different than chi or prana. We just have different names for things. We put
E-
labels on things in this
Yep.
density, and
Exactly.
it's really not necessary, but it is, because it helps people understand. It helps the human brain comprehend what you're talking about. So we're sort of limited to using words here. But anyway, you can
And
start.
and I was just about to say too that when you said the source of it, it literally comes from source.
Exactly.
So we're gonna in the book they're gonna talk about God quite a bit, but in our terminology, being star seeds, we say source.
Right.
But there's no difference. It's the same essentially, right? So
Just a word. It's just
yeah.
a term, right? Yeah. For the
Okay,
people.
so this is on it's one of the beginning pages. I'm gonna try and tell you guys what page everything is from. It's XXVII. So it's
Oh,
at
you're.
the very beginning
Oh,
of the book.
okay.
Yeah, like the introduction. And it says, we the Arcturians do salute you for the journey on which you are about to embark. We are pleased to introduce you to the Arcturians, visitors to Earth who came from Arcturus, located in the Buddhist constellation, and who represent heaven's enlightened celestial command. Um, there's a little bit more to that celestial command that maybe we'll talk about a little bit later. One thing that's really interesting is overnight, Dr. Norma's telepathic abilities just took command of her consciousness, and she was able to start doing these readings, like I said, like 33 years ago. And I can just imagine the thousands and thousands of people that she probably has helped, because she definitely helped heal me and get my soul and my light body sort of back intact. So this one's going to be on page 87. And it says, we discovered that the frequency at which a being vibrates is directly related to the command it has over its thoughts, actions, words, and emotions. When one increases one's frequency to that of the speed of light, then the mastery of the process begins. This means that the being now has access to more information in the universal consciousness. And that's pretty beautiful. The speed of light is pretty interesting, actually, when they talk about that. It's just something to think about. So I think the plan is for me to do two, and then Lígia's going to do one.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what have you got for us?
I have from page 6, this information will be coming through many sources and channels in the years to come. This information is unfolding as we telepathically communicate to you. But also, the time is now. That's in bold letters, in capital letters. The time is now
Wow.
to begin the learning of these lessons. And that was written, what, 1990?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So the time is very much now.
yeah, it says to begin the learning. So we've already been learning these lessons. Like they're lessons that have been happening since then. So um, information is unfolding as we telepathically communicate to you. So they've been telepathically communicating to us for years,
Yeah.
and it's coming through sources and channels, many different ones. So back in 1990, I mean, we didn't have the internet yet. So I'm kind of thinking that's what they were referring to.
Oh,
So
great.
literally channels like this channel, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
the potentials. So there's so many other channels out there too. So literally, that's actually a very literal thing they just said, and that they've been telepathically communicating to us for years. And so I like that passage. I think it's really Yeah,
Yeah,
really
it's
amazing.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everything we're about to read to you guys is truly, truly amazing. Their their frequency is really, really high, and are they're all about love essentially. And just to use a term that Andrea uses, she calls the Pleiadians space bunnies, and the Arcturians are probably not really like that, but they could probably be thought of as like that, perhaps a little bit, because we are a little bit different. Andrea can probably tell you a lot about that.
I feel
Okay,
like as Arcturians are, where Pleiadians are space bunnies, the reason she calls them that is because they're very like they're high vibrating, but they kind of giggle a lot. You know, that it's kind of like that. Arcturians are a little bit more witty, you know, more like what you would think of as an Irish person or someone who's witty, like that kind of wit,
oh,
you know, and then more like you know, like their sense of humor is like that, like witty and kind of like intellectual, you know, like I don't know how to explain it, but there's somebody who does this, and I forget the name of it too. I just can't remember names today. But it's this comic or like strip, comic strip sort of
right.
anime of this guy, and I think it's Nathan something, and he does like these otherworldly beings, and he draws them, and the way they talk are just like Arcturians. Like it's
Oh,
very like almost kind of like the terminology that they use is like a higher level, you know, than the average bear, right? So
yeah.
it's kind of like, do you remember the Coneheads? This is really dating me. On SNL, the original SNL.
No,
Saturday
I
Night.
don't think.
Okay,
Oh, okay. Well, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, it's a
so
long
like
time.
Lorraine Newman and I forget the dude, Chevy Chase. I don't remember,
Oh,
but anyway, so like really old SNL, like OG, right? The OG SNL. So they used to have these characters that they were called the Coneheads. If you can ever look it up and find it anywhere on YouTube or whatever, they had these tall heads, not like anything Arcturians look like, but they would say things like consume mass quantities, and then they would eat potato chips and just shove them in their mouth, right? So, but they would use terms like consume mass quantities instead of hey, let's pig out, you know, or whatever. Let's just, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what I think of when I think of Arcturians. They're funny, but in a different way.
yeah, yeah. And oh, and also they're blue. That's the other thing. And they're not on the internet, there's a lot of pictures of them being a really brilliant blue. They're not. They're more like Andrea said, more like sky blue is,
Like a
kind of.
faded blue, like faded jeans, she said. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. More like that. Because I've got a picture of one that's really, really blue, and looks awesome, but I know that it's not really totally correct.
Yeah.
So let's carry on. Oh, and this is really interesting. This is something that Andrea is going to want to hear. In the spring of 1985, Dr. Norma had this thing that was in her head or something, and it just said, pick up a pen, pick up a pen. And right after that, she started doing automatic writing. And that's something that Andrea does, right? So I just wanted to talk about that before we go into the next one. So this is on page 89. It says a soul needs to have a soul needs to have a soul needs to have been met. That doesn't make any sense. A soul's needs have to been met. Sorry, I can't read my own writing. A soul's needs have to been met. Um, and there must be a sense of peace and satisfaction within before the frequency begins to rise. When this frequency begins to rise, it begins to rise, it begins to work miracles within. One only needs to bathe in the liquid light, or the liquid light, right? To feel the cleansing, purification, and peace it provides. And I just want to say that when I was beamed up to the ship, when they saved me, um, I felt higher densities there, 6 density. And it was almost exactly like what was just described here. It was something that you would never feel on Earth. It's just something that's very hard to even describe with words, essentially, right? Yeah. So the next one is on page 111. And it says, we only measure our own frequency and the vibrational qualities of love and light. And anyone who has ever felt these two qualities automatically knows that this is indeed a desirable state in which to be. So basically, that's just exactly what I said before, right? Yeah. Cool. So, oh, you disappeared again.
Oh, sorry. My
It's
hitting my
okay.
phone. Okay, so this is number 2. Is it not probable that there is an ongoing progression of events regarding human interactions with these beings from other parts of the universe? Is it not also possible that if this is so, the natural progression of events might include direct communication with people on Earth as the next step?
Wow, that's awesome. And we know from our dear friend Andrea that that is indeed happening, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely. And I
lots of
just
other
recently
people. Yeah.
had that experience myself. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You spent the night with a handsome alien.
You know, but that implies something that didn't happen. So I have to clarify this. Somebody in my group said, "Oh, so there's been a lot of sleeping with aliens going on." There was no sleeping happening. We were
Yeah.
not sleeping together or
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
Apparently, he took me home to where I'm from.
Oh,
I just don't remember it,
yeah.
but he told Andrea that, that that's what happened, that he took me back to my.
Yeah.
Now, I do have an experience of that happening a couple days later, um, on my own when I was meditating, where
Oh,
I actually got to have the, see where I'm from, and that happened a couple days later.
wow. Well,
So yeah, I haven't talked about that yet.
that's super cool. And I know you described how you laid in bed and it was kind of cold and you had your hand out, and you just felt the warmth and stuff. And yesterday I texted Andrea and I said, I'm glad that that Ika didn't decide to hold my hand. And she said, yeah, he probably wouldn't do that, but he'd like to shake your hand at some point. And I said, yeah, that'd be awesome, right?
Nice. Yeah, he
Yeah,
would. He would.
cool. All right, so we should carry on. The next one is on page 113, and it says the energy is absorbed into our consciousness, and in the process, we are transformed into higher levels of awareness. It is in these higher states that we are able to perceive other dimensions of reality and process information on a much more complex level than most earthlings do. Most earthlings are able to do. So they're just saying that once they can elevate their consciousness and get sort of into that universal consciousness, that they're able to process information a lot faster. And I can attest to that actually. Um, being an Arcturian starseed, we do have some of the traits that the full ET Arcturians have when we come through. So and processing a lot of information is one of them. And I know that Lígia's actually got that as well, because she processes incredible amounts of information all the time, right? Yeah.
I think we
So
both do. Like we read 5 books at once, right? Isn't that what we do?
you read 5 books at once. I can read a book in a day, but I tend to yeah, I try not to
Well,
do that.
that's pretty fast. I mean, it takes me a lot longer than a day to read 5 books. I guess if I just read one at a time, I could read one per day, but for some reason I like reading a little bit of each.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, you like mixing it all up. I can read 1 or 2 books at the same time, but to focus myself on,
Yeah.
so that tells me that you actually have more focus than I do. and it's true, actually. I know that for a fact. So on page 121, it says Arcturus is a sacred dwelling on the highest forms of life the universe is capable of producing in the fifth dimensional frequency. So this is what I was saying. Arcturus, the new Earth is going to be fifth dimensional, fifth density, and Arcturus is already there. So Arcturus is the model again for the new Earth, and not just the Earth, but the whole society and the way things are done, and probably even governments and all of that sort of structures, right? Yeah. So what have you got now?
I have, okay, we also trust in a higher force that guides us all, and feel that the process of acceptance or rejection of this material will be perfect for each individual who reads it. In addition, we have a firm belief that it is the spirit of the word that gives life and meaning to us all. So it's the spirit, it's the intent behind the word that gives the life and meaning to
Yep.
everyone. And that, the higher force is what guides everyone, and that the process of acceptance or rejection of this material will be perfect for each individual who reads it. So it's just like whatever happens after you read it, it's what's meant to be,
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
that's absolutely beautiful. And I like how you said the intent, because our actions, we manifest our actions through our intents, and it's a beautiful thing.
Well, this is
So
a continuation of it. I guess I numbered this 3 too, because I also realized that this is like it fits with that part. So
yeah,
it says, in order to do this, the fundamental ingredient of the process demands that one becomes love.
mm,
This higher frequency will lend itself automatically to the perfection of the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies that are contained within each of your electronic circles.
wow, yeah, total truth, right? Um, as we know from Jesus, that was his message too. Was basically all love before the deep state, screwed everything up essentially, right?
Yeah.
But that was truly always his message, right? Um, so on page 133, it says, "She is truly one of the finest starships in the universe. We vibrate to the colors of red and purple." So that's kind of interesting. Looking at Lígia, she's purple today.
And red.
And red, actually, yeah, and red, yeah, that's amazing.
I didn't
Um,
I didn't even do that on purpose.
I know. Although Lígia likes purple.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
and
I
so
do.
do I.
I don't
That's
normally
the other.
combine colors, so that's weird.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that we have in common too, because that was always my deal, was purple.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so then it says on page 147, "We are pleased to say that those re-emerging memories will be just one more step in the process to help reclaim the data unlocking the mysteries of their missions on Earth." So essentially, they're probably talking about Starseed's missions on Earth, I think, is what they're referring to here, because they do get into that a little bit. But it is a process of, like it says, reclaiming or re-emerging memories. Um, I think what it is our 3D mind or consciousness here can only process so much information at a time. And if you get too much information, then it's going to kind of screw you up a little bit. So I think, and I think that's something that starseeds we all have problems with. And we have to kind of sort of relate to the fact that is the case with us, right? Yeah, as we go through here. So what have you got now?
So we have been here with you, our brothers and sisters of Earth, for so many years that it is not even comprehensible to you that we have worked among you for that long. It is the truth, and it has been the plan for 2,000 years. It's been the plan for 2,000 years, meaning that it's been in the plan doesn't mean that they might have been communicating with us before that. But as far as the plan, it goes back 2,000 years, which what happened 2,000 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. Jesus walked and spread his love, essentially, right? That was the
That was probably an Arcturian, you know? So who knows?
actually Andrea says Pleiadian.
Canadian. Everybody says he's whatever they are.
Yeah, I know, right?
He might
I
be,
actually I
might
tend
be
to
everything.
think what you think. Actually, I feel that he's a lot like you, where he's half blue. Because and having said that, I refer to that because uh we she hasn't had a Kashapp reading yet, so we don't exactly know for sure. Because I think Rebecca could probably straighten that out, but. My feeling is that you're part Arcturian as well, that you're Pleiadian and Arcturian. So Jesus could have very well been the same, actually.
I'm trying to remember
Um,
which Hindu god is blue. Is it? It's not Shiva. Is it Shiva?
oh,
Um,
yeah.
or Krishna?
I think it's Krishna, I think.
Krishna. Krishna is blue, right? So maybe
Yeah.
he's Korean, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
seems
Yeah.
pretty interesting. Anyway. Oh,
There's
did you
not
do
too,
your book?
um, I think, is it my turn or your turn? I lost track. I
I
think
lost
you,
track. What number are you on?
um, I'm on number eight, no, 9. Yeah. So it's my turn, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, we are here to help Earth brothers and sisters make the transformation to the fifth dimension with as little pain as possible. So again, to the fifth, and there is pain in birthing. So this is something that we all have to understand. And I'll go back to Andrea again, because she literally is a phoenix rising from the ashes, and literally it's almost like a rebirth for all of us, because we have to realize the rebirthing part for me is realizing where you actually came from. Once
Yeah.
you know where you came from, and having said that too, Arcturus was like the last planetary matrix, but I know that I went through Lyra, so there's earlier things for all of us too. So I think it's just like we go from one to another, like yourself. Perhaps you went from Arcturus to the Pleiades, just to learn more and be part of this whole process that we're in right now. Because Andrea and you are very important in the disclosure of information, essentially, right? Very important, actually. So yeah, so that was on page 149, and then page 150. It says, we have the ability to work knowledge through our systems as humans ingest and digest foods. We are capable of absorbing concepts and information at a rate of approximately 100 times faster than the average human. So that's pretty interesting. And that goes back to the fact of like me being able to read a book in a day, or you being able to read a book in a day also. So if you are part Arcturian, then you would have some of this come through. And that's why you have the ability to process incredible amounts of information. Because I know that you do that. I know you
Well, I
do
think
that.
there's other people that do that even more. Like I feel like the next generation of
Absolutely.
people can multitask better than anyone I've seen. I mean, I can multitask pretty quickly too, which is why I can keep up with them. But they can see and do and think like all types of things all at once.
Yeah.
Can just grab from each thing, and that's part of that too. And I feel like that has something to do with it. I have a pretty big chunk here. It's the eyes do serve a dual purpose in the visionary realms. They have the quality to act as the optical nerve for depth and character perception.
Wow.
This is accomplished through moving another sensor behind the wide coloring of the eye that you would notice. It is the inner sensor that can perceive distances in very minute detail and then transmit other data back to our central nervous system about the quality and character of that which is being perceived. Another function is that the eye has the capability of being in 2 or more places at one time.
Wow.
This means that we can focus our inner and outer vision at the same time, and this then aids in us in our telepathic abilities. The inner sensor that is behind our outer layer is the one part that connects to the inner reality. The outer lens and coloring is what perceives the energy and density of that which surrounds the inner reality.
Wow,
That's
that's
my
amazing. That, and I don't remember reading that. I just, because I haven't read the book in a few years now, but that's truly amazing, isn't it? Actually, they're
Mhm.
so they're describing information on multiple different layers essentially coming
Yes.
through.
And
So
where it resides in the eye. And
yeah,
almost kind of like the third eye kind of thing,
yeah.
So
I thought they were talking about the third eye, but they're not. They're actually talking about the optics of our eyes, essentially, right?
yeah, how it works. Now, I'm not sure if they're talking about their eye. They're talking about their eyes.
Right.
Yes. What is the color of your eyes? Because this is questions that were being asked to them. So that's why they were saying, that they have to have color. Their eyes are likened to the color of dark brown or even a black color, if we even may call black a color. This is so we are beings who need this coloring to shield our eyes from selected rays of the sun. These are
Wow.
shields, so to speak, which filter out certain rays of energy that can actually hurt our telepathic abilities.
Wow.
Speaking of telepathic abilities, that is our primary mode of seeing. Our eyes are the secondary source for input. The eyes have another function. They are sensors for the spiritual nature of our beingness. Our eyes
Hmm.
act like filters and can weed out the lower vibrational senses and energies that can affect our qualities. They are the windows to our soul. Have you not heard that statement on your own planet as well?
Wow.
That was all
That
the,
is
what was said before that. But this passage is, I know it's a long one, but I felt like it was really key.
that's profound. And I've always wondered about the eye color thing because my eyes are brown. And yours are too, actually, are they not?
Mine are brown. They change color. Mine change color.
Okay.
They change between brown, green, and amber.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's cool. But yeah, the eyes are the window to the soul. There's no question about that, right? It's just so profoundly beautiful the way that they describe everything too, right?
yeah.
Um, this is on page 151. The Arcturians learned long ago that in order to maintain a higher existence, one must always maintain a balance. This includes the balance of everything in existence, mastering the positive and negative energies of the electron force is the most critical in this process. So that's pretty interesting in itself too. And the balance thing, I understand a lot of that because I'm a Libra. So that is something that a lot of people have said that I can become unbalanced at times though too,
Mhm.
but generally not, right? So this is on page 179, and this one you're going to love. Liquid light is drawn through the crystals from the universe and locked into the transformational process. It accepts and rejects no other form of energy or supply, but it is self-contained in this continuous cycle. Isn't that something? What do you think about the liquid crystal through, or the liquid light through the crystals?
Well, that's interesting because there's crystal technology, and that we're beginning to learn how to use now, which I'm just starting to find out about.
Yeah,
And liquids and crystals, like that's one of the ways that I've cleansed crystals here on Earth is through salt water that I get from the Gulf of Mexico.
right.
And it's just something that I felt that like it was a good thing to do. I don't know, intuitively, that's what I felt I needed to do, to cleanse some of my crystals, was to
Yeah,
use that water, that particular water. It's got
right.
salt. So it's interesting that, yeah, they're saying, crystals and water, and uh I feel like water has consciousness, right? And so do crystals.
Oh, you just said it right there because water has the same frequency of love.
Right.
So absolutely correct. Water has consciousness because it
And liquid
literally,
light liquid light is consciousness, right? It's
yeah.
conscious from source. So
Oh,
that's
beautifully put. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I knew you were going to come up with something with liquid light because
I didn't know. I had no idea.
I knew you would.
3D Linda has no idea what's going on.
Yes, she does. I think it's your turn now, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a little chunk here. This is the question is, do Arcturians have a heart, and what is the nature of your metabolism? And they say, yes, we do have hearts. This is one feature that is consistent with most of the beings in the universe.
Wow.
Although this is the reality, many species use their hearts for different purposes. In our case, we have a function of our hearts that is similar to yours on Earth. We have a mission to the planet Earth to teach humans to hear the energy source and the words that come from their hearts.
Wow.
It was in this practice that we first learned to raise our consciousness eons ago. Now we are here to help you with the same process. The heart holds the answers to the universal keys. It contains the balancing energy of the yin and the yang, or the positive and the negative energies. We are of the same kind when we say that our mission is of the heart. We are of the same origin when we say that all of our hearts will lead us back to God, or Source. Our role in the reawakening is to teach many of our sisters and brothers on Earth to listen to their hearts. This is what we do, and we hope that you too will soon discover the true significance of this action. You on Earth will find that your metabolic rates will increase as you progress to arenas of higher states of consciousness. This does not necessarily mean that you will have higher blood pressures or that you will be diseased. In fact, the opposite is true. What does occur is that the new lift of life that comes from this awareness will bring to your physical bodies new states of renewal and spirits, and you will feel this lift right from the bottom of your feet. At this time, you will begin the movement of locomotion and will float, just as we are able to do.
Hmm.
It's talking about levitation, man. Wow.
Oh, and when I was on the ship, the little Eddie at 12 years old, levitated heart to heart with extraterrestrial that I was talking to, and we'll get into a little bit more of that in other episodes on Starseeds, probably with Andrea especially, because that's her
That's
thing,
so
right?
cool. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, that is amazing. That's a awesome passage. Like I absolutely recommend everyone read this book, because even if you're not Arcturian, it's just the messages that are in it that are just absolutely beautiful, right? They're and they just continue on and on. And at the beginning of this, I don't know if I said it, but this is just a very small percentage of the messages that actually came through that are in the book.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that, right? There was
Yeah.
a lot more messages that came through, but these are the ones that they decided to put in the book.
Yeah, right. It must have been a hard
So,
choice.
so this is on page 190, and I can relate to this quite a bit because of being aboard an Arcturian ship once. The area of the ship is reserved for the connection back to divine wisdom and truth. It supports only that function, and no one but the elders and the ascended masters are allowed to enter. It is designed to support the life connection to the liquid light, and also nourishment for the soul. It is what we call the holiest of places. It is likened to a temple on planet Earth. They have special chambers that are a lot like the Integratron that eventually Frank and everyone, we're going to talk about the Integratron that was built in the desert. But they have rooms that do different functions, and some heal and some nourish and whatnot. So that's kind of what they're talking about there. And then on page 195, this one's kind of a big one too. It says, for one thing, there is a vibratory frequency and color display in this area that is above the third dimensional manifesto plane, which we can kind of relate to that. There's frequencies and sounds that we just can't hear in our 3D bodies. The colors and sound frequencies in this dimension are truly those which are ecstasy and joy for the beings who participate in its beauty. It contains the range of the highest honor to those who surpass the 7th level. So I think they're talking about the 7th density. It is the proudest of emotions and resonates truth. It is the dimension that awaits the soul's truth. Our shrine and chamber is a constant reminder of the purpose for which we serve. I really like the we serve part because, as Andrea says, and Frank Chili, service, 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 right?
Right.
Yeah, beautiful.
So where am I? Okay. Okay, so what senses do you have that we do not have? In addition to the inner eye, we also have one for hearing. One of the weaknesses we perceive in the human race is that they do not know how to listen. We also did not have this ability well developed in the beginning of time. But over time, we managed to strengthen this inner sense through discipline and dedication, and have developed a sense of hearing that transcends even our telepathic abilities. When we're using it, we can hear sounds that are out of the range of normal hearing. We can hear sounds from the 5th dimensional level and above. Only certain of our species, however, have developed this sense to that level. It is indeed a sense that is the next one for Earthlings to encounter. We see many make the effort already, as we see on the horizon a pattern of similar development between our two civilizations. So, and another sense that they have that we don't have is they can use the backs of their heads.
Right.
They have a nerve that is well developed and situated in the part of their central nervous systems. The sensing nerve is there for development of powers that enhance the manifestation powers for which they are known. They're known for that. This nerve is situated in a place that, depending upon which way we tilt our heads, we are able to gain access to different forms of information to help us make decisions relating to that which we wish to manifest.
Wow.
So, I don't know if you've ever seen these, there's movies where there's somebody like tilting their head. I think I remember Rain Man. He kind of tilts his
Yeah,
head,
right. Yeah.
and then something comes to him, and I'm like, where did they get that from?
Wow.
Like, yeah, they were showing us something, right? Yeah.
That's amazing. And I can attest to the hearing part because I'm an audiophile and I build equipment in rooms and everything. And my hearing has been developed over the years, and it is actually we say that audiophiles have golden ears or musicians' ears, and I know that Lígia actually has the same ears. I know that she does because, yeah, we hear things that probably others can't, in different levels, and I think that's something that we just carry through, being starseeds from there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is on page 207. It says, "At this moment, continue to do this. And now note that the wave of the tone synchronizes itself with the heartbeat." So they're talking about frequencies here again, right? Since the heartbeat is the center of all love and higher consciousness, please know that the higher the vibration of these frequencies of the tones, the higher you can raise your own consciousness. This is truth. And this is exactly, when we talk about densities, the density level is got to do with you. It's got to do with your DNA, how your DNA vibrates. It doesn't really have anything to do with where you came from. Maybe a little bit, but essentially your density is your vibratory frequency, essentially, is what they're kind of trying to say here. And I love when they talk about, since the heartbeat is the center of all love and higher consciousness. That's a beautiful thing. And some of the passages that you just read actually just sort of said the same thing, right?
Right. They all tie together.
Exactly. Yep. So on page 222, we are the transmitters of higher consciousness, And we take delight in sharing with you all of the wisdom we have known through the ages. So I do know that most of the time they communicate through dreams. There is the odd time that they will actually probably teleport somebody, not physically, but just their soul to the ship. Because I know one thing for sure about Arcturian ships, you can't get on them unless you're part of them. My ship, for example, Rebecca went to it 4 times with me, and she was allowed on board. But when Andrea went to my ship, she was not allowed on board, and she was sent to Arcturus itself to talk to somebody about me, right? So she wasn't allowed on board because she didn't have, because Rebecca had asked for permission through me, and so that's the difference there, right? It was sort of, yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, so what have you got now?
Okay, so what do you wear on your home planet? And it says, most of the time we wear free-flowing garments that do not hinder our locomotion, for we do not use this mode of travel as frequently there as we do when we travel abroad. You see, our character and composition changes depending upon where we visit. We must adapt just as you find that you must. You know, I guess like when you go to, you're in Canada, if you go to Florida, you're not going to wear as many clothes in Florida as you would, you know, same thing, right?
Yep.
Garments that are used for everyday existence on the planet are either non-existent or they are of the protocol. To define what we mean by of the protocol is to tell you that they are somewhat like uniforms. We do not look like we are in a competitive display. And that is important. It is important that I state that now. The different garments are merely for uniformity of respect and the laws which we admire and to which we adhere. We tell you this, for in appearance we all look very much alike. There are very few differences between our physical appearances. This is so because we feel that it is non-functional to compete or to look different from one another. The various garments, then, are only used for the adornment qualities of showing respect.
Yeah,
So I
and
thought
that's
that was
beautiful.
very interesting.
They've
They don't wear clothing sometimes. Our children do not have to wear any either, and there are very many reasons why it's important for them not to for the very first several periods of their development. Therefore, we have and do not use the term of non-existence to designate the lack of. It's not that they lack clothing. They just don't need to wear that. They don't need to wear the clothing. And
yeah,
it's only designed for respect and protocol. They don't, it says on Arcturus, we don't have the cold and extreme hot temperatures that you have on Earth. So we can manifest whatever we need, and we do so with only the directive of serving our own vibrational quality and making it more compatible with God. So
amazing.
spiritual reasons only is the only reason you would wear clothes is for spiritual reason.
And it's kind of cool because I know where you are, it's sort of like paradise, and with the temperature, because you described it to me before. And that's kind of what they just described too, actually. And I kind of forgot about that part of it, actually.
Yeah, it's like right today's Thanksgiving in the United States, and I'm in Florida, and I woke up and it was 60 degrees this morning.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a high of 70, and then it's going to go back down into the lower 60s tonight. So perfect.
And I'm here in Canada, and last night it was probably 0 your temperature, right? I have to plug my truck in. That's how cold it's been, right?
Well,
So
you're in British Columbia, so that's like you're almost in Alaska where you are.
yeah,
So,
I'm in northern British Columbia, yeah, for
so
sure.
it's freezing there. It's not like, yeah. Oh,
Yep. So this one says, this is on page 256, and it says, individuals who are being abducted are those who have chosen to embody on Earth at this time and to allow themselves to be brought aboard our ships to be studied. So that's what I was saying. Some of them are being taken up at different times. I believe that my Rebecca talked about this. My download was non-linear when I was 12, so I think everything that's necessary is there, but it's just coming out as I can take it, because there's too much information, plus in the proper timing of everything, right? So yeah, they are souls of the highest caliber, and we honor them. They have come to Earth to assist in the transitional period by allowing these investigations to occur. So we're literally talking about ourselves here, or they're talking about us essentially, right? That the starseed is coming here to help transition over to the fifth dimensional Earth, which is a model, or Arcturus is a model for it. So that's why there's such a connection. And there has been, like you said, not for 2,000 years, but for a very long time. I'll explain this a little bit right now. 65 million years ago, the cedars came, and they came in different waves. And the Arcturians are some of the last to come. So I don't know at what period they came, but essentially we've been here for a really, really long time, a very, very long time. Not necessarily saying that every soul has done that. Angie was saying that some souls that come in, let's say straight from Arcturus and haven't been on Earth before, when they get here, they have a lot of problems with melding in and stuff, right? So other people have, like myself, I know I was in Atlantis, so I know that I've been here for a very long time, right? So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They people that have been here before.
So 258, it says, we devised a plan with the incoming souls who actually volunteered to assist us before they embodied in the human form. So essentially, before we came into this incarnation in these bodies, we made a deal, or the deal was struck before we came in, and we knew exactly what we were going to be doing, even though for most of us it's just starting to come out. The new ones that come in that you talked about in the future will be fully awake and aware, and will have amazing abilities of everything essentially. They're, I wouldn't be surprised in the future to see people levitating, actually.
Oh yeah, that's what it said. That one
Yeah,
passage. We're
yeah,
gonna be levitating.
yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. So what have you got now?
Okay, how are these dedicated, wise souls selected to be in charge of the unit structures? The selection process is simple. Those who are deemed at birth to have the color of violet equivalent frequencies are those who are initially screened for the positions. And then it says over here, you can see here another distinction between our two civilizations. We on Arcturus have the feeling and awareness that those who govern our units and take care of our young are the highest and wisest in the land. So they're very careful about the frequencies of who are in charge there and who are taking care of their children. Those are like highly important. It's unlike here, the opposite.
Exactly. I was about to say that. On Arcturus, the highest honor is actually to have children. So yeah, they reserve it for the people that are the very highest frequency, and then even the people that teach the children after that have to be of that same frequency. And this is why Arcturus becomes a very loved and incredible civilization, is because of, like you said, not the way that we do it here. It's totally different, and these families would stay together, I would assume. I don't know if they get divorced or not, but I would assume that's probably not the case, right?
They live much longer than we do. First of all, their vibration is so high that they don't have those problems. They don't have divorces, and they live to be 300 or 400 years old, which is another piece that I didn't read that I just saw. I mean, they live hundreds of years longer than we do. So
yeah,
that just goes to show, when you're vibrating at that such a high frequency, where your happiness level is much higher, and you're maintaining it for such a long period of time.
yeah,
That peaceful resonance is at such a high frequency, and it stays that long, it maintains that long. Then it's a kind of a no-brainer as to why they're able to keep it up.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you said that, because you in my mind you were just describing yourself actually, because you are, I mean, first of all, look at her. She's violet to start out with, but she's very, very high frequency, right? Yeah, and that's so cool. Um, so on page 249, it says these souls need to be thanked and appreciated for volunteering to complete such a difficult mission. They are indeed sacrificing to serve the rest of humanity. Yeah, I think that's the part where star seeds, that we'll talk about a little bit later. We're all different and kind of weird, and we don't really belong, or at
We don't
least
fit
that's my sense, right?
in. Yeah.
Yeah,
We don't fit in, but we don't mind not fitting. I don't mind. It does never bothered me that I didn't fit in.
yeah. It's just
I
that,
really
and
tried.
we just know that we're different. That's all.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're better or anything. We're just different. That's all, right?
It's more
We're
of a, we feel weird. We feel like, you just feel like you don't fit in, but it doesn't really bother you. You know,
yeah.
like, oh, I wish I could fit in with these people. No, I've never had that. I
No,
never,
well, you're so chill that, yeah, you just kind of, yeah, right.
no, I mean, it's like I didn't want to. Like any things that they were doing just seemed so silly to me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like I'm being snobby. I'm not being snobby. It's just that a lot of the things that people do that get themselves in trouble, really. It's like, why are you doing those things? That doesn't even make sense. Like,
I
I don't know.
think it's because they're not following their heart. I think that's truly a big part of it, and I know that the Arcturians, that and with all races, but the Arcturians especially, the heart is really something that they focus on, and it's really interesting because your last podcast with Andrea, that I watched last night, with all the green and everything, and the heart healing and everything, that was just so timely, that you guys did that, and we didn't really know. These synchronicities just keep happening,
No, I
and
didn't.
have happened all year. For me, it's been like all year, since I went on the radio with Jeff Rentz and Frank Chili, and then met you, and then Andrea, and just the synchronicities are just amazing, right?
Well, the heart
Um,
healing, I feel, is the most important.
yeah, I feel
Yeah.
absolutely that. Yeah. On page 254, it says the star children on the planet today are among the finest of souls that the universe has ever known. They are of the color violet, and they understand the direction to the white light. So that's kind of nice to hear. And again, look who's got violet on. pretty pretty awesome. Yeah,
Is it my turn? Oh,
I
okay.
think so. Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
at 10, so I only have one after this.
Yep.
Um, okay, so this is the passage of about liquid light, and this was the one that I found was really important. Giuliano speaks of the liquid light. Now he's a scientist on Arcturus, so it's very interesting his perception of it. He says, to begin with, everything is made up of electromagnetic energy. With this understanding, allow us to say that we have many different forms of energy. There are rays of energy, such as light rays, gamma rays, ultraviolet rays, etc. When we look from our perspective, we see that Earth is a sea of an electromagnetic field of energy. All forms combine together to form a pool of energy. This pool is termed light because all that is in the universe is God. God is light.
Right.
Source
That's
is light,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Um, the sea of energy is called liquid because it moves like a fluid. It cannot be contained. In this sea of energy is the oneness of all. The electrons and smaller particles of existence are truly the creator of the force that sustains all life. It is in this force that the physical and energy structure of all that supports life. This force is used by all of us in this dimension and other star systems for our propulsion.
Ah, interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
very interesting. We understand that the nature flow of electromagnetic forces of the universe is the only truly intelligent way to operate. Once a civilization begins to understand this, that civilization becomes a co-creator of the physical world that surrounds them. We hope our brothers and sisters on planet Earth will soon come to the same conclusions and discoveries that we came to long ago.
Yeah,
And we're just sort of now, sort of low-key finding that out mainstream
yeah,
wise.
yeah. We're the young babies just sort of learning the process as we go along here on Earth. Yeah, that's truly beautiful, eh? The way that I love the way they word everything too.
Yeah,
Their words are truly amazing. Yeah. Um, on page 254, it says the star children. Oh, sorry, I already read that one. 255. The new color vibrates at a higher frequency than ultraviolet light, and and it is this condition that connects the children of the planet to the white light and source of all power. So they're talking about, I think it's called the violet flame. I think it's been termed that way, but it's see, the frequencies that we see here are not necessarily the ones that they see, and of course their eyes are different, so they pick up on different things as well too, right? So there's a lot to the way that everything vibrates, and of course we know that everything in our universe is all just frequencies. When we talk about subquantum kinetics, it comes down to something called the Turing wave that oscillates between space-time and time-space, and the frequency that it oscillates at determines our universe, where we're actually located, which universe we're actually in. And one thing I wanted to say was the Anunnaki, when the Anunnaki came, they actually came through the portal at Arcturus, but they came from a parallel universe. So there's a connection between the Anunnaki and Arcturus that I'm not 100%. I still haven't done my homework on that yet. There's a lot to be learned about that, but there's definitely some kind of connection there as well too, right? So that's kind of interesting. Then the last one that I have is on page 276, and it said the brothers and sisters who are willing to help those in need are those who are here because they have been sent by the highest in the universe. We all work for God or source. You work for the same master as we do on this dimensional frequency. Only the separation of the veil makes the difference in our perception of reality. That is the truth. So you guys were talking about muddy waters, I think, on the last podcast. And
right.
that veil is exactly, I think, what they're referring to, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way I was describing it, because I had brought up using that as a kind of a picture to try to understand what we're in right now,
Yeah.
and like the density that we're in, because Earth is like, I was likening it to like a lake or a pond where you're closer to the bottom of the pond where all the dirt is. And when you move around, you're stirring it up.
Yeah.
And there's other people there stirring up the dirt too. And so that you're kind of swimming around in this dirty, with your eyes open, trying to see this dirty pond, and you can't find your way up or down. You don't even know what direction you're in, because it's just
Yeah.
so dirty. So the surface is up there, and if you can get closer to the surface, it's not quite as dirty up there. It starts to
Yeah.
get clearer the closer you get to the surface of the pond. And then once you get to the surface, which is where it breaks, where the break is between the pond and the air,
Yeah.
you break the surface, you can see that there's people waiting on the shore trying to rescue you, trying to get you out of the pond, trying to help you.
Right.
Whereas the people that are in the pond are trying to pull you down into this, like, don't leave. They're grabbing your foot and trying to pull you down.
Yeah. And
But you've got those entities. So that's what I was likening it to that.
yeah, no, and that's so true too, because as our vibrational frequency increases, yeah, our clarity, we have clarity, and you know, our third eye, we see things much more clear, and then we can perceive what's going on a lot more clearly as well too, and realize that certain things are just a show, and they're not truly the reality of what's going on, as what's going on in the world right now.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people, you know, suffering and being killed for no really good reason, because it's essentially the deep state fighting it amongst themselves,
Right.
creating all of this, right? And we know also from Russia that Putin, in fact, is a good guy, and he's actually helping the situation here. The U.S. is really mixed up at this point, but I think with the next election and stuff, it's going to straighten out. You guys are going to have much more clarity, and we are waiting for the day when the ETs actually show themselves. You know, and that's something that Rebecca actually talked about on her number 16 of her series when she was Montauk to Russia. So it's a period where we're all waiting, and I know that you are, and Andrea especially, like she's chomping at the bit literally
Mhm.
for it to happen, so that she can see Ika, and you know,
It's almost as if they're like the people in the kayaks on the top of the of the pond, like trying to rescue us from, you know what I mean?
yeah,
They're in their kayaks right now above us, watching
yeah,
us. Look at them. They're right there. They're getting closer to the surface.
yep, yep,
Maybe
exactly.
we reach out and help
Yeah.
them. You
And
know?
they're upstairs, they're upstairs all the time, guiding us and helping us. Something that we always have to realize, that there are higher powers. That's something that I always say, that you have to just it comes from your heart too, to realize that that's the truth. And once you realize that, and go with the flow, as Andrea would say, and not
Yeah.
fight the situation, just go with the flow, and amazing synchronicities like we can attest to will start happening
Well,
in
it's
your
like
life.
that, the same. I can keep using the same analogy because if you go with the flow and you float, you'll float. If you stop kicking and fighting, you float to the top, right?
Yep,
So then you raise your frequency, you get higher and higher, and it's
yep.
easier to for them to help us when we're at a higher frequency
Yeah,
than
because once we're out of the pond, now we're like a brand new little baby chick or something, and we're all brand new, and learning all of these things that we've learned, and we're all at different levels too. You know, like some people started a long time ago. Some people were fully awake and aware when they came through. Some star seeds were, like for Andrea, for example, she can remember all kinds of things from her childhood, that where Ika came to her and things like that, right?
hmm
So once we get out of the pond, there's an amazing everything is just truly amazing, because there's so much more information than what's here in 3D. We're so limited with our perception of everything here in 3D. And as we increase our vibrations, we go more into fourth and fifth density. And that's the whole idea of the new earth, essentially. We need to get there. And we need
same.
to get there spiritually, more than technologically. The technological part will happen. But I think for us to become part of the Galactic Federation, because we're still not yet, uh, we, being you and I and Andrea, being starseeds, we get a hall pass. So we get to come down here and do things that the Galactic Federation is not allowed to do. And one of them is intervene into technologies and things. They're not allowed to do that until we're part of it. But we as starseeds, our mission is to come here and actually help the process. So it's amazing. Thank you
Sure.
for,
You.
yeah,
Well, I had one left. One left. It's 11. It's 11.
yeah,
It is liquid light. Um,
perfect.
Liquid light, the definition of liquid light. It's just the definition. The pool of electromagnetic energy that is the creator of everything that exists. It is called liquid because it moves continuously like a fluid and it cannot be contained. And it also says prana, life support energy of the universe, also called the liquid light.
Beautiful. That is, to me, that is source, literally, and source and the ether, because the ether is
Yeah,
everywhere around us, and our connection to source is actually through the ether. That's
right.
something that people don't realize, right? The information is in the ether, and it's non-local too. It's not
You can
anywhere.
access
Yeah,
anywhere. Yes.
yeah,
And
exactly. We have full access to it. All we need to do is just comes from the heart. It starts from the heart, right? And then it goes from there. But being able to focus your intention, I think, is the biggest thing, and that's from your third eye, right? I
yeah,
think, and we'll talk about that in later shows. Yeah.
yeah, that's great. So yeah, that's why just to say that, like, that's why I call myself Liquid Light Activator. So that anybody who sees that, like, I have a TikTok channel called Liquid Light Activator, and that's why I call myself that. And uh, I will be talking more about liquid light in the future.
Oh,
So
I can hardly wait. Yeah.
I just want it to become more normalized and more of a term that people understand what it is. Because when I tried to register as Liquid Light LLC, um, they thought that I was actually selling some kind of liquid, and they sent me a catalog, and they tried to,
Really?
the
Wow.
government sent me like some kind of thing that now you have to be registered to have liquids, or I'm like, what? No, this isn't a real. Oh my God.
That's crazy.
It's not a physical thing. Like, yeah. So anyway,
That's a perfect example of them actually being in the pond, in that murky pond,
they're at the bottom of the
and
pond.
and
Just
somebody that we know said that he was going to drain the swamp, right? Oh, lost you.
sorry. I
Yeah.
I lost you. I lost you for a second because somebody was trying to call me at the same time. It is actually my daughter. So sorry
Oh,
about
oh, it's
that.
time. Okay, well, it's time for
It's time for
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and I have to apologize because I didn't know that it was Thanksgiving in the US,
So,
because we have a different Thanksgiving, right? But
right.
yeah, so
When is your
we'll,
Thanksgiving?
I knew you were going to ask me that. It was a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
October-ish kind of. Yeah, yeah,
October. Okay.
yeah.
All
So
right. Well, that's a couple weeks ago. That was like a month ago.
I hope you
October.
get some turkey.
Oh, I hope so too. We'll see.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I think we plan on doing more books in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's really kind of neat, and we have a lot of the same books actually, so it's even more neat to be able to do that. We'll do some William Tompkins stuff, I think, in the near future here, and hopefully we'll get our friend Frank Shilley to put a couple words in, but he's really busy, we know that,
Mhm.
um, and I really love the stuff that he's doing with you guys, actually, more than anything. It's like, just, I was blown away by how he literally took both of you under his wings, and it was
He's
just such a
amazing.
beautiful thing.
He's so amazing, and I like all the things that he shared with us. I mean, wow, just
I
so
know.
much
Yeah,
beautiful information that we can share with people, and that really has definitely impacted my life, definitely Andrea's life. So
yeah,
yeah, it's amazing.
yeah. Plenty more of really cool stuff in the future. From
Yes.
There's a high potential for very good things to come from potentials.
There's a huge potential. Yes, high.
Huge potential. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
huge.
Where's your bell? Where's your bell? We were talking about every time we said potentials, she's going to
Potentials.
have a. There it is, a bell to ring. I think we need a real big bell.
Uh, yeah.
I
If
can't
anybody
I
has
can't
any
hear that
bells,
one.
anybody has any bells to send, please let me know. I'll let you know where to
Wow.
send it.
Okay, not the Liberty Bell though. That's a bit too big.
That's a bit, yeah, I don't have any place to put that. I don't have the room. So be a hard,
Very
hard
cool.
to ring that one to shake, but yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you again for having me on. It's such
Thank
an
you
honor
for being
to.
on. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing all of this beautiful information with my beautiful audience. And thank you everyone for tuning in, for sharing your time with us and listening to this little podcast. And I'm just happy to do it. I just love doing this. So thank you for participating, and also just don't be afraid to comment, because I love the comments and I will answer you back. So yes, thank you again, and have a great day, everyone. Ciao for now.